Hi, everybody. Welcome into another edition, the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast, back with a brand new episode today, 115. Thank you for joining us, as always, on the audio side, Apple, Google, Spotify, and then on YouTube, the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast page to actually watch the show. It's good to be in here today, talking with you all. Episode 115, Understanding a Pitcher. We've talked a lot about approach in the past. We've talked a lot about what to do in the on deck circle prior to getting into the box. Well, today we're talking about understanding a pitcher as you're in the box at the plate. A lot to discuss today, so let me bring in professional evaluator, successful business owner, former coach, friend, and co-host Jake Epstein. What's shaking, Bacon?
It's good to be back, Jim. Couple weeks off. I really felt the itch to get back on the podcast.
Are you going to show everybody your new microphone just to validate that statement?
It's got a blue light too.
I guess that means that it's
means that it's working possibly, but it needs to be closer, as you all can tell. But that's okay. We'll get her set up next week. Locked in 2 inches from my grill.
This the podcast has gone through many iterations, and I love how our equipment is getting up to speed. Episode 115, and all of our equipment is up to speed.
Just took us a couple of years. That's okay.
That's okay. You know, it takes shows a couple of years to figure these things out. Hey, understanding a pitcher. The main question, that's our topic today, in trying to figure out a pitcher. This is something that you're supposed to think about when you're in the box at the plate. After seeing that first pitch, or going back to previous sample sizes, first at bat, second at bat. What did that pitcher just try to do to me? That is one of the main, if not the main question when understanding a pitcher.
Yeah, I remember back, Mr. 700, Albert Pujols. I remember, maybe 15 years ago, him saying something like, when I first came up, I used to make adjustments from game to game. I'd make adjustments from game to game, and then I would make adjustments from at bat to at bat. I'd be able to make adjustments on what the pitcher was trying to do. And he says, now I make adjustments pitch to pitch. It took him a couple of seasons to kind of figure that out. And that's what hitting is all about. Now, that's what hitting's all about at higher levels. If you're playing, 10U or 12U or 13U, we may not be seeing that as much. You have to figure out kind of what the pitcher is doing on a grander scale. What pitches they feel comfortable with, what pitches they're getting over. For instance, we had a game yesterday. This is again 12U softball for my daughter, and the pitcher had a changeup, but she couldn't throw it for a strike. She threw it for a great out pitch. She threw it for a great pitch. That just kind of skipped in the dirt. But I had a conversation while she was warming up and said she hasn't thrown one for a strike yet. And then the first inning, she hadn't thrown one for a strike. And so we just made the decision that if you see anything funny or different, because at 12U, 14U, they're not going to throw a changeup that looks exactly like a fastball. Okay, that's going to be kind of a different motion. It's going to be a different release point. It's going to be a lot of times they slow their motion down. So things like that. And then you can just abort that swing. Look, if anything that isn't a fastball look, I'm not going to swing at it. So that's making an adjustment. That's understanding what the pitcher is doing at the big league level or the minor league level or the collegiate level. It's, how are they trying to attack me personally? There's some kind of plan that the pitching coach has created during the week, or that the pitcher and catcher have talked about prior to that game. How do they want to get me out? And a lot of times that first pitch that they throw you, especially if you're someone that swings at a first pitch, you don't take it 100% of the time. That first pitch they throw you may come back when you have two strikes. That could be the way they're trying to. They throw you a fastball in, or they throw you a breaking ball because they know you're kind of aggressive, maybe like Altuve, right? He swings at a lot of first pitches. He's going to see that out pitch that they want to get him with. So it's just understanding, what's going on without getting too crazy with it when you're younger. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Well, one guy who understands what's going on right now is Aaron Judge on the precipice of history. I was thinking about this yesterday too. There's a difference between, quick analogy here, squatting 225 pounds in the gym and leaving reps in the tank, and squatting 225 pounds that are eye popping and takes everything out of you. One is strong, one is weak. When I saw Tim Tebow years ago play in the minor leagues, he kept fouling pitches off to the opposite field. He was a left-handed batter. He was always late, and he was always late, and his upper body was really just driving the swing. His lower body was taken out of the swing. And I knew right then he's not going to make it to the big leagues unless it's to drive ticket sales in September. Major leaguers, when they're late on fastballs, a lot of times they're still using their entire body. It's still a powerful swing. It's still a strong swing. When I look at Aaron Judge, everything he's doing right now at the plate is strong. Whether it's I don't care if it's a swing and miss. I don't care if it's taking a pitch. I don't care if it's fouling out, flying out, grounding out. If he's hitting home runs, hitting singles, it doesn't matter. Every swing that he takes, every take, every pitch he sees, he's locked in, completely locked in. And he absolutely, every pitch that he sees, it's a strong motion, whether it's a swing, whether it's not, it's just strong. It looks like he's completely locked in right now. I mean, that's a guy who kind of understands the pitcher.
It is, and he's still getting pitches.
Mhm.
Last night, which would have been Saturday
Mhm.
of last week, he didn't get any hits, but he had good pitches to hit. And
Yeah.
when you start to see that, you wonder if he's starting to tail off a little bit. His timing maybe isn't quite as perfect. His swing still looks the same. He's always going to foul pitches off, based on his when he's a little bit late, right? He's not
Yeah.
going to shoot that ball to right field. He's going to foul it off, right? So, his timing has to be a little bit better. But I'll tell you what, I mean, he went 4 for 5 the other day or something in Milwaukee, and
Yeah.
every ball, even his out was like 110-mile-an-hour knuckleball he hit to the center fielder. Like, it was nasty. Like, he is confident. I would say that would be the best way to put it. Like, he steps in the box. He's very confident with his swings. He's not guessing. He's not feeling for it. He's got a plan and he's sticking to it. And like you said, whether he's fouling it off, hitting a home run, or grounding out, he still looks the same. It's just, maybe his timing was a little off on that one pitch, but his balance is good. And he does. I mean, he has very, very good mechanics.
Yeah.
He does. Don't get me wrong there, but that his miss will be a little bit lower barrel when he goes to rotate, which is great for him because he hits balls so high, and when he just misses it, he still hits it 370 feet to right field or right center, which is a home run in Yankee Stadium and other stadiums. So it's a perfect miss for him, being somebody that maybe misses out in front and rolls over. Like, we wouldn't want that miss for a big person. So,
But even his misses, though, are still strong swings.
yeah, like, he's
Right.
back. He's not reaching for anything.
I mean,
Yeah,
you can tell when a guy's really, I'm trying to think of who's really struggling right now, but you can tell when a guy's really struggling, the swings are bad, he's completely fooled, timing is off. Even when Aaron Judge swings and misses and he looks fooled, he's really not all that fooled.
he's
It's
still
still
in balance, right?
he's
Yeah,
still a very strong swing.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. If the pressure doesn't get to him, it's so much pressure, Yankee Stadium, but he handles it.
I
He
mean,
is like the perfect dude for Yankee Stadium. He
I
really
think it was
is. A
I
good.
think it was Tom Verducci who said that the Yankees cost themselves about 75 to 90 million dollars not signing him in the
I'm trying to
offseason.
think what the original deal was. I don't know if you have that.
I think it was
280.
like I think it might have been close to 300 million. I think it was about
Yeah,
280. I think
yeah,
you're right about that. Yeah,
yeah.
275,
I don't
280.
think it was a bad deal, but he was like, "Well, let's see how it goes."
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Let's
hope
see
he
how
wins the Triple
I'll
Crown.
just go for the Triple Crown.
Yeah, I mean, I
That'll
get the
prove
whole
my
Maris
worth.
thing, that's awesome. And it's so overshadowed by the Bonds, McGuire Sosa, boat race
You know
that
what's
they
weird
had.
about that? I'm glad you brought that up, though. You know what's weird? Nobody's really talking about that.
No one
I mean,
is.
has anybody really brought up Bonds, Sosa, McGuire
Mm,
during this chase? Not
barely,
really.
yeah.
Everybody's bringing up Ruth and Maris.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this should be the biggest deal ever. It really should.
Hmm.
Just like it was when Sosa and McGuire were chasing the 61.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's not at all compared to what they went through, because they blew it out by so much,
Yeah.
and I still, it's hard. It's very hard for me because, their bodies were different,
Hmm.
right? But geez, you got to hit a baseball.
Right.
It's not like they were hitting little flares that went out of the park because they were just more massive. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like, they still squared up baseballs for an entire season, and it's a shame that it went that way. and I get this. This is, the American League version, right? This is okay. We have an American League home run record. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that it's Maris. I think it brings Maris back in the spotlight, and he
Yeah.
was such a good dude, and good person, and obviously a quality player that was really overshadowed. He was a good
Right.
player for a really long time, and people just kind of remember him for this. But it brings that back in. It brings the chase back in. It puts a little pressure on Judge, but
Yeah.
I think it's just really cool here at the end of the season, and I hope the Triple Crown. I didn't think we would sniff the Triple Crown. I
Right.
really didn't. I think we may have talked about that on an earlier show. Would we ever see another Triple Crown winner? And I said no, because you have people that are just trying to hit jacks all the time, and they
Mhm.
would much rather strike out and miss than hit 50 or 60 home runs. Well, now we're seeing a guy that's doing it all, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and also what's pretty awesome too is, by the way, I want to get your prediction. How many home runs does he end up with, Judge? Get we record this
I
on
would
Sunday,
say
no, Sunday, September 25th.
I'm going to say 61.
Really?
I think he's going to tie it.
You know the okay, so you don't think 62, 63.
No, I think most people do. But what do we have? 10 games left.
I'm gonna go with 64.
You think he's going to just get hot?
I think
Yeah,
64.
yeah.
It's
He
gonna
could.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and speaking of home runs, Albert Pujols the other night hit his 700th home run. I was looking over the list of active players and their amount of home runs, and there's some really good players on that list, and they're not even close. I mean, some are approaching 300, but 700 home runs for Albert Pujols. I've noticed something. I want to get your opinion about this with Albert when he is facing hard throwing pitchers, which is pretty much every night because everybody throws hard now. But when he is facing those hard pitchers, it seems like to me his leg kick is bigger. When he's facing a softer pitcher, i.e., an Anibal Sanchez, I saw this a couple of weeks ago when the Cardinals were playing the Nationals. His leg kick is more deliberate and it's more slow. Do you notice that? Any correlation there?
It should be slower with slower pitchers.
Hmm.
Now bigger and smaller, that would be weird if he
Yeah.
had a smaller leg kick with slower pitchers, but more deliberate 100%. That would
Hmm.
that would be the case because he's trying to buy time with the stride where when guys are throwing 95 plus, he's got to really get that stride going, and he's got a leg kick, so it's got to be probably a noticeably faster leg kick.
Sure.
And it's how we teach. It's how I teach. I try to get all my people to teach the same thing when we're sitting off speed or we're making adjustments to breaking balls as we're sitting on them, or more importantly, we're waiting on pitchers, right? Like the first, say we're a high school player and the first guy we face is throwing, 85, 86. And, we're like, okay, we got our timing on that guy. Then they bring in that dumpy left-hander that's throwing 75 or 74 and everybody's early. Well, how do we buy time? What is the process of buying time? And it's all about controlling rhythm. It's
Right.
not about striding later. That's really hard to dictate, where the arm is when I actually start moving. So it's buying time, learning how to control the stride. And this is why the first thing that I do when I train players, like at a camp, we work on rhythm. We work on the stride. We work on controlling the stride. We work on seeing how long we can balance in the stride. It's what we did. I was in Alaska last week, which is why I wasn't able to record, but we had 40 softball players, really good softball players. And all of them, that's what we went through. The first 15 minutes was learning the footwork and learning how to control the footwork. Because if we can learn how to stride, even at an early age, at age 9 or 10, we can learn how to stride. Then as we get older, we can learn how to stride at different rates, which is exactly what you're talking about with Pujols. But if we don't learn how to stride early, we'll never be able to do it and make that adjustment later on.
There's one thing I wonder about Albert Pujols, and this always circulates online, him working off the tee and him talking to people about his pregame approach when he's in the cage. There's an obvious difference with every hitter, I think, at higher levels between practice swings and game swings. What do you think the biggest difference is, practice to game swings? And what do you think is the biggest factor that needs to connect the two so you can have in-game success? Because with Albert Pujols, those two swings are very different at times.
They're 100% different. Well,
Mhm.
not 100%, but they are. And so is Mike Trout.
Who, by
And
the way, we are doing next
so
week,
is
Mechanical
A-Rod.
Breakdown series.
Yeah.
Michael Trout Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, so many people, you have to know what's right for you. That's the best way to put it. I'm working with, I don't know how many high school players right now seems to be kind of the norm there in fall ball, the ones that aren't playing football, right? So I have about, maybe 15 or 16 high school players, and we all have different thoughts. Some guys think about finishing a little higher off the tee. Some people think about finishing lower, and they're thinking about controlling their vertical bat angle. Um, the tee work is what equals out what we do in a game. So what we do in batting practice is great, and front toss, things like that. It's controlled, it's easier, it's feel good, right? We're controlling it. But I try to get, when people join the online academy, I'm like, can you please first send me a couple game swings from the side? I want to see what the player is doing in a stressful environment and competition, or somebody throwing pretty hard to him at BP or her at BP. Because a lot of times that's drastically different than what I see. Even when I'm doing my international work with the Brewers, I want to see BP and game, because a lot of times they're totally different. And I could give somebody a great grade in BP, but all of a sudden I see them in games, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the stress level is really getting to them, or the speed is getting to them. So you definitely want to see that. Then you work off that. What did we do in games? What is the most important thing? Is it path? Is it rhythm? Is it lower body? Is it upper body? And that's what we overdo maybe off the tee. So when you see Pujols, maybe he was a guy that really never wanted to fly out weakly to right field. So his tee work is more of a chop down. He takes his knob down to the ball. That's kind of what he does. Does that mean he does it that drastically in a game? No. When I'm training players and trying to fix something, we're at 120% of perfection. If I need a player to swing down more, we're swinging down 120% more off a tee. If I need a player to swing up more, which happens too, I want that player to swing 120% more, up. But it's
Right.
player driven. It's not textbook. Everyone has to do this, and everybody has to do that.
I was
And
just going to mention that
preparation's the
too.
key.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm like I just saw, I think this morning, was it Nick Saban, a Nick Saban quote, which was like, God, I would have loved to play for this guy.
hmm
And it was something like, practice not until you do it right, until you can't do it wrong. I was like,
Well, that's how I rehearse every week. I
I know
practice
it is,
until
and that's why
I
you are
can't do it
perfect.
wrong.
But like I said before, I'm a John Wooden guy. We prepare and practice, and then
Mhm.
when you get in the games, you have to let that player succeed. You can't overcoach that player. You can give them advice like, hey, we're swinging under everything here, make an adjustment, but you can't talk about their defense and their footwork. You have to drill them appropriately during the week and hope that it shines through. That's what practice is for.
You're a Wooden guy. I'm a Brady guy here
Yeah.
in Tampa
Well,
Bay,
you're younger. I'm obviously older than I really am.
but I'm a Tom Brady guy, so I prefer Tampa. By the way,
He's
my fantasy
he's
team's in
quite the
shambles.
preparer as well.
My fantasy team's in shambles. Every receiver I feel like I have is like either questionable or out today. I had a
I
lot
have
of
no
depth.
love lost for you, Jim.
Why? It's kind of rude.
It's fantasy. You live in a fantasy world over
No,
there
I
in Tampa
don't.
Bay.
Well, that's because we win everything. Hey,
There's one thing you didn't win.
a few weeks from now, though. Speaking of that, puck drops, baby.
I know.
Da-da-da,
Yeah, it's the shortest off season ever.
Opening, who they open? Oh, they're Tampa Bay. The Lightning are opening up against the Avalanche. No, I'm sorry. No, they're not opening up against your stupid team. They're opening up against the other stupid team, the Rangers. Another stupid team. And then their
Jeez.
home opener against the Philadelphia Flyers on a Monday.
That's
Section
a good one.
315, be there.
Oh my goodness. Yep. All the kids, I'm sure, will be
I
there.
saw something in the Athletic as it relates to one of my favorite players at the major league level right now, Bo Bichette. The story, hold on, I got to pull it up here. There's a quote in there that I really liked. He was asked this question from the reporter: what tends to be the issue when you're scuffling at the plate? And he said, honestly, I won't read the whole thing, but honestly, pretty much every time it's because I'm worrying about my mechanics during the game. It's really hard to hit 95 miles per hour as it is. It's way harder to hit when you're thinking about where your legs are or when you're thinking about where your hands are. So to me, again, I see this in a lot players, I don't care what level, they are practicing, working hard in the cage, but they're
Mhm.
overcompensating. And to me, in my
Mhm.
opinion, overcompensation equals lack of confidence. And there's
Mhm.
that fine line there between hard work and overworking and overcompensating.
Well, you got to figure out, you can't be, you can't ever be, what's the word I'm looking for? Sure of yourself. You can't always be, uber confident if you're struggling, and it's always the saying is what comes first, success or confidence? Do you have to
Yeah,
get 3 hits to get confident, or can you go in there 0 for 10 and still be confident?
right.
It's very difficult. Yeah, if you're thinking about stuff during an at bat, you totally can. By the way, like I don't think you can
Well,
think
today's
of.
episode is based off that. You're
Yeah,
thinking along with the pitcher.
yeah. I mean, if you're a late strider, you can definitely think I'm going to get going sooner. Okay, I mean that's something easy. If you're thinking about, oh, I got to get my back knee in, okay, well that's mechanical. I got to get my hips open. Well, that's not a good thought. Or keep my hips closed. That's not a good thought. But very basic things like I got to keep my hands up. Right, I'm anticipating this pitch up. I mean, I don't know why I remember this, but I remember playing a night game when I was at Fullerton. It was a Tuesday. I think it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday game against UCLA, right? So they were
Mhm.
they were obviously good. And I'm wondering if Utley was on that team. He probably was. But we're playing UCLA at home and I'm hitting, I don't know if I'm hitting fourth or fifth or sixth or something like that. And, I'm noticing this left-hander is throwing everything up. I don't know if he's
Mhm.
on purpose throwing everything up, but he's throwing everything at the belly
Yeah.
button. And I went up to bat and swung at looking for a pitch up. I'm going to keep my hands up, stay on top, stay on top, stay on top, stay on top. I got a high fastball and I hit it out of the park.
Hmm.
And then I did it again my next time up. And it was just like you could tell yourself something like that. Or this guy's he's low. I got to get into my legs more. I got to think down, down, down. So if you practice those things, like maybe you set up the machine
Hmm.
and you set it up at the belly button and you work on getting your hands on top and staying on top, great. And then, the next day you work on the pitch down and you work on getting in your legs more and getting low, then hopefully you can just tell yourself, I'm going to look up or look down, and then your body will automatically adjust to it. But if you only practice one of those things, you can't tell yourself. If you never practice on keeping your hands up or hitting a high pitch, you're never going to hit a high pitch and vice versa. So, yeah, you can definitely think about those kind of things. I wouldn't want to think about, like, for instance,
Well, it's about trusting your preparation too, right? And
absolutely.
that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. So Yelich, I don't know, maybe a month ago went to a jab step with his stride.
Hmm.
That's something I could never comprehend doing. Like that's a totally different feel. That's a totally different
And
timing
he did it
thing.
in the middle of the season, or
He
at
did
least
it in the
towards
middle of the season, yeah, and he
right
got
towards middle
hot.
to the end.
And sometimes you just need a different feel. I'm
Right.
sure it didn't affect anything with his swing or swing plane or launch position or anything like that, but maybe it got him moving a little bit more, or a little bit different feel. That's why Cal
Yeah.
Ripken had, 100 different stances during every season. He needed a different feel, even though it really didn't affect his swing launch to
The
extension, but
swing didn't really change much.
no, but it was just his feel getting to that launch position. So,
Yeah.
um, anyway, yes, you definitely have to trust your preparation. If you're trying to make adjustments that you haven't practiced a lot,
Hmm.
it's not going to work in a game setting.
Well, I mean, you're thinking about your legs, thinking about what you're doing with your stride, what you're doing I don't know, with your weight. Those are big cues there that you really shouldn't be thinking about at all during the game. You should be, again, trusting your preparation, and you can overcompensate when you're in the box in the game doing those things, thinking about those elements of your swing. But there are some small cues. What do you think are good small cues mechanically that one can remember as they're getting into the box and they're anticipating and understanding the pitcher, title of today's episode, when they're up at the plate in game situations?
Yeah, just things like we talked about, keeping your hands up, staying on top
Sure.
of pitches.
Yeah.
That would be one. Yesterday, it happened in a game. My daughter had her first at bat. She's like the only lefty on the team. So I
Hmm.
asked her, where was every pitch they threw you? Outside. Okay, what are we going to do the next time up? And then I asked the right-handers, where are most of the pitches coming in? They're like, kind of inside. I'm like, well, this girl's throwing to one side of the plate. Let's take it away. And
Hmm.
so I told my daughter, you got to step in. You got to dive in, take that outside, because at 12U, the plate's like that big. I don't know if you can see it. It's like 40 inches wide.
You just spread, for those listening, you spread your hands out beyond your shoulders. So
Yeah, it's
that's
big.
pretty long. It's
Yeah,
very
so
big.
we made that adjustment, stepped in, and then hit a line drive the other way. But
Mhm.
if she didn't cheat that much, she probably wouldn't have reached it.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of adjustments you can make. If they're throwing you outside, step into it a little bit more. If they're throwing you inside, hey, I got to get my foot down to get the bat head out in front. If they're throwing everything high, think about keeping your hands above the ball. Think about keeping your hands up during the stride as much as you can.
Episode
Those are the kind
115.
of easy things.
Episode 115 of the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Understanding the pitcher. Also, we do have a listener question, I guess, on YouTube. They just wanted to simply know what software you use to do our mechanical breakdowns. If you want to give that information away, great. If not, cool.
Yeah,
It's
no,
your
it's fine. It's
proprietary information, by the way.
yeah, it's one that was made for me, so it's not available
Mm,
anywhere. It's for my Mac, so it's called Split App, and
mhm.
yeah, just it was my online academy software that they had built for me years ago, and I still use it. However, I use an app-based one called OnForm, which is fantastic. I use OnForm every day for my that's my online academy stuff, which is
Mhm.
great. It does all the same stuff too. It's just app-based versus computer-based, so yeah, OnForm's great, and their customer service is good too.
So there you go. Whoever wrote that in on the YouTube
Yeah,
page. And of course, you could leave comments on the YouTube page, the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast YouTube page. Please subscribe. Subscribe on Apple, Google, Spotify, etc. And watch the show on YouTube. And you can email us too. JimboPodcast21
.com.
@gmail.com. Understanding
.com.
the Pitcher, episode 150. Ep just pulled the mic up to his mouth and said something. I wasn't listening because I was
I just
talking.
wanted
But
to see if it sounded better up close, which it does.
that's what the pre-show prep is for.
Yes.
Not live
Yeah.
show, but okay.
Sorry, Jim. Sorry.
It's fine. No,
Shout out. I got to give a shout out, by the way.
we don't do shout outs on this
Oh,
show.
we don't. Okay, never
You
mind.
can give them, I don't like the word shout out. I think it's a very stupid word.
Really.
But you can give a, like a hello. Hey, I want to say hi to, this
I'm going
person.
to say hi to our longest tenured lab student,
Hmm.
Mr. Gomez, who's now in high school and has worked so hard on his swing. And he also told me the last time I was in Texas that he listens to the show and he enjoys watching me drink coffee
Oh, he
in the
watches the
morning while
show.
I'm
So he
doing it.
listens and watches.
Yep, Eric Gomez. He's a good dude and a great player down there.
Mhm.
And he is like, we opened the doors and he was like, it was like me and him for the first month because we only had like 8 students as we were building the place, and he was one of them. And now he still
Yeah.
grinds it out every week in there. He's lifting, he's hitting, he's getting better. And yeah, he's going to play in college pretty soon. He's a junior this year.
I mean, so you're talking about the lab. Where is the lab? What is it again? The lab BCS? Where's that located again?
We're going to do it now. College
We can
Station.
do it now. Yeah. Good segue.
BCS.com, College Station.
What do you got coming up at the lab?
Coming up, certification's coming up in roughly 3 weeks. 3 weeks. We got about 8-10 guys coming in from all over the place. So if you're within driving distance or a reasonable airfare, do not miss this. In fact, a couple listeners, Nick, who's written in, we can't say shout out, but Nick, who's written in a couple
New
really
rule
good
on this
questions.
show. We don't say shout outs.
Yeah, Nick's.
And by the way, if
coming
anybody
down to
emails
Texas.
us in trying to joke with us about, hey, I wanted to get a shout out or to JimboPodcast21 @gmail.com, you're going in the spam folder. So don't even try it. I'm in no mood for that
You'll have to
shout out
talk to
shit.
me. You'll have to talk to me personally to get a shout out. This is not something you can write in.
Right.
But anyway,
Right.
yeah, Nick's coming down to certification. Bunch of other people. We have a couple people from Alaska actually are coming down to certification. That's a pretty good trip.
Mhm.
It's awesome.
Were
It's
you
such
at
a
the
fun event for coaches of all levels, whether you're an amateur coach, travel ball coach, high school coach, college coach. It's so great and so beneficial to the players that you work with.
Were you at the point of Alaska in that state where you could see Russia?
No,
Oh,
I was not,
okay.
but I could see Denali, which was pretty cool. I was in Anchorage.
What is
So
Denali? I don't know what Denali is.
Denali's like the highest. I don't know if it's the highest mountain. It's not the highest mountain in North America, but it's just a massive volcano that stands alone. It's so cool looking, so majestic. Beautiful place. Like Alaska is an amazing, amazing state. And they have pretty good softball players that people don't know about. They always have players going D1 out of there.
When does it
Baseball
get dark
players
at
too.
night?
Huh?
When does it get dark at night?
This time of year it was about 8:30, but they lose 5 minutes of daylight per day this time of year.
Wow.
So it went, it was at
Doesn't
8:30,
the
but
rest of the
like
country lose that too?
no, I
Hmm.
know in Colorado we lose like two. One in the
Oh.
morning, the sun comes up a minute later and goes down a minute earlier.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, usually there a lot of times the sun will go down for I don't know what time it is, maybe like 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning,
Do you
something
think
like
those
that.
people understand the pitcher if they're playing baseball or softball?
Absolutely.
You think so?
Yeah.
Do you think they understand about how the pitcher at times fastball followed by off speed is trying to slow down their bats?
Segway King is back. Absolutely, they do because we just talked about it.
Not really. We touched on it, but
No, I talked about it up there
oh, oh,
in
you
my
did.
seminar.
Okay,
Yeah, I did
okay,
a seminar for coaches and then also player clinic,
okay, okay.
and then I
So
caught some
fastball
fish.
followed by off speed, understanding the pitcher, they're trying to slow down your bat. So fastball up, off speed, low and
Yeah,
away, slider low and away, vice versa, trying to slow down your bat.
yeah. So that's a pitcher's job is to you know they can slow down your bat even by throwing to different locations. So a fastball in that you have to hit out in front versus a fastball away you got to let travel. That's a difference of say 4 miles an hour of perception. Okay, we
Hmm.
have to wait longer on that outside pitch. Okay, um, but yeah, they used to call it boxes. Up and in, low and away. Right, fastball up and in, change up low and away, or breaking ball low and away. They're trying to speed up your bat. If a pitcher hasn't thrown a strike inside, yet they're throwing inside, they're using that pitch to set up the next pitch. So any good catcher is typically not going to throw the same pitch in the same location twice, especially if it's a strike. So if a pitcher, dots something, say low and away, and the count goes to 0-1, they're probably going to throw a breaking pitch on that same plane and hope that you chase the slider because it looks like a fastball there. If they miss with that slider, what did they do? The slider was going further away and it was slower. So now they're going to try to speed up your bat by throwing a fastball back in. If they get you with a fastball in, then they may go with another breaking ball low and away. And if they don't get you on that, they might go with a fastball up. So they're every pitch, when pitchers are good and when pitchers are with a good catcher or a good coach that understands the game, and we're talking about really elite high school people, or at the
Yeah.
college level and above, every pitch sets up the next pitch. Okay, that is kind of the idea. And if you can get with them and know that every time they throw a fastball in, it's a setup pitch, right? They're not trying to get me out with a fastball in. They're trying to miss. They're either going to throw it on the corner or they're going to miss inside or they're going to miss up, right, to change my eye level. Now I know that next pitch is what I'm going to look for. They haven't thrown two fastballs in a row. Well, why haven't they done that? Well, they're using it as setup pitches. They're not using it as out pitches. And
Yeah.
that's why we watch the game. That's why we sit and watch the game from the bench, from the on deck circle, and then we take those experiences from our at bat, because the more information we can gather, the better off we can be for our second and third at bats.
So let's take a pitcher like a Nick Pivetta comes to mind. He's got four pitches. He's got a slider, curveball, changeup, fastball. Okay. Starts off a hitter low and away with a curveball, but misses for ball one. What is the next pitch? What was he trying to set up the hitter to anticipate?
Yeah, he's probably getting the hitter to think, if it's an opposite, I'm diving in, right? I got to cover. He's got so
It's a
many breaking.
right-handed batter, right? That's
Yeah,
yeah. I should have
he's
said
got
that.
so many breaking balls. He got so much soft stuff, right? He's getting me to lean out over the plate.
Hmm.
If I'm in the driver's seat there, like with a 1-0 count, I'm gonna look for a fastball in.
Hmm.
I'm gonna look for a fastball in with a 1-0 count, thinking he might sneak that in there because he got me looking low and away, and he got me looking soft low and away. If he backs that up with a changeup, I'm probably gonna miss it. If he backs up, if he throws a changeup after a breaking ball, that's pretty good pitching.
Hmm.
That he can spot that and throw it, maybe middle away where it still looks like it's hittable. But typically, if I'm looking in, I shouldn't be chasing, something that's starting off on the outside corner. So if he throws a changeup kind of down the middle and he doesn't hang it, I might swing and miss at that. If he hangs it, I'm still going to be okay.
So what are the percentage-wise? What do you think? Just guessing. What do you think after that curveball misses low and away to a right-handed batter? What do you think if you're in the box? What do you think that next pitch
Yeah. I
is
mean,
going to be
obviously
highest percentage.
more than 50% because that's the way I'm thinking. I'm
So you're
anticipating
thinking
that
is what?
pitch
You're
middle.
thinking changeup next or
No, I'm
fastball
thinking
in?
I'm looking fastball in. I'm
Okay,
looking fastball because if I look changeup and he throws me a fastball, I'm toast. Like I'm gonna
right.
get jammed.
Of
So
course,
you have
yeah.
to figure out like I'm in an advantage. I'm in the driver's seat. I don't have two strikes. The count's 1-0. He
Mhm.
missed with a breaking ball.
Yeah.
If he tries to throw another breaking ball and he misses, now I'm 2-0. So I
Mhm.
figure he's got to get back in it with a pitch. What is the best if he's trying to speed up my bat? What is the best pitch for him to throw? It's a fastball in, not a fastball away. Because a fastball away, I have more time to hit it. Like if it was a breaking pitch, like the one before. So I'm going to set fastball middle in.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't come out of that tunnel middle in, then I'm going to take it. If he spins a breaking ball for a strike, great pitching. If he
Yeah.
throws a changeup for a strike, great pitching. If he throws a fastball in the outside corner, great pitching. Okay,
Yeah.
now the count's 1-1. If he throws a fastball for that second pitch, he gets a strike. I'm probably think he's going to throw another breaking ball now. He's going to slow that bat down even more, throw a changeup. So now I might set off speed.
Now, what if he throws a slider first pitch? At
Um,
that point, are you looking fastball maybe
yeah,
low and
same
away
thing.
because he's tunneling those two?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
same thing. I'm going to treat a curveball like a slider like a curveball. So any kind
Mhm.
of breaking pitch.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the
And
curveball
sometimes
though,
guys like that, you just look
the curveball spin and shape may be different. The curveball
totally different.
may be breaking on two planes. Pavetta has a 12-6 curveball, but then
Right.
his slider breaks sharply on two
Down
planes
and
with
in.
a lot of horizontal movement.
Yeah. And that's why he's a big league pitcher.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes you
But
look
what I'm saying is though, you anticipate, the slider that is okay, or you see slider low and away or a slider,
Mhm.
that's a
He
that
probably throws his slider down and in would be my guess to a right-hander. He probably throws his
you mean down.
curveball back door, and then I would say that
Okay.
slider he probably buries to get guys out.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know who he is, but typically guys that have a lefty that has a pretty good slider that
Hmm.
sweeps,
Yeah.
and breaks sharp down there, that's a back foot slider.
Hmm.
That's gonna be his put away pitch.
Yeah.
So if he throws that early in the count, that's running into a barrel. Um, that pitch. So if it's early in the count, a lot of times they'll save those for later. But hopefully you have some. How has this guy pitched me in the past, kind of thing? Like, how does he get me out? Right. That's how you always have to think back. How did this guy get me out last time? Because he didn't forget. Somebody wrote it down. Somebody has a chart on how
Right.
how they got you out. They're going to go back to that same philosophy. So you got to try to beat them to that spot.
Okay. What about changing the eye level? You start off fastball high, or
Mhm.
again, start off slider low and away, but talking
Yeah.
vertically now. What about when pitcher tries to change the eye level of a hitter?
Yeah, it's so great. When I was catching, I always did it. We got
Hmm.
to we got to two strikes. I was a big fan of that, like just at the letters, just under the letters fastball, because most people are going to swing at it with two strikes.
Hmm.
And if they don't, I got them looking up there. All of a sudden, they saw that pitch up there. Now I can back up a changeup off of that. That just goes, just dies on them. They're seeing something. They just saw something up and fast. They're all geared up for it. Now you're throwing, something. If it's a lefty pitcher to a righty hitter, I'm going to go like changeup low and away.
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw something that breaks into that right hander for sure. Maybe I'll throw a backdoor curveball or something like that. But eye level is great. Sometimes you can go up and away with a fastball. So if I was a catcher and I called for a fastball up and the pitcher missed up and
And this is
away,
the first pitch of the at bat, right?
no, this is with two
Two
strikes.
strikes. Okay.
Two strikes. They miss up and away with a fastball, then
Hmm.
I might go down and in with a fastball. Okay, because I'm changing eye levels, and because it was away, it seems slower than one in.
Hmm.
So we're always trying to do opposite, up and away, down and in, up and in, down and away,
Hmm.
it's up, down the middle, down the middle. Like you're always trying to go, kind of 180 degrees. If you're in control of if the pitcher's behind in the count, he throws a fastball up and away. Who cares? Now the count's 2-1. I'm still sitting on a fastball. Yeah, I'm
Hmm.
still sitting on a good pitch to hit. If that guy throws an off speed pitch, I just take it, 2-1 and tip my cap and say nice pitch. But I'm still in
Yeah.
the driver's seat. So it's more with two strikes is when pitchers are changing your eye level. They're trying to make you feel uncomfortable on that out pitch that they have in their pocket.
Well, the final main theme of understanding a pitcher, the title of today's episode, the pitcher is looking at how that hitter reacts to the fastball. And if they can then throw in, or if they can then tunnel away, and then they start to mix in that off speed. But a lot of times, right, it's understanding how that hitter is reacting to the fastball.
And Jim, this is why you're the best in the business.
I agree.
Like, these topics are excellent.
I know.
So you
I know, and
listeners
everybody
are in,
should subscribe.
yeah, I mean, this is like really high level stuff. Yeah, hitters, you know, they get anxious, right? How do I get a fastball and I take a huge swing, right? I take a big swing on a high fastball and I miss it, right? And I'm like, that pitcher's like, this guy, he's aggressive. He's aggressive on the fastball. He's not just trying to put the ball in play. So now all of a sudden the pitcher's like, I got to be a little bit more careful. So maybe he throws a pitch a little bit higher, right? If he chased one at the belly button, maybe he'll chase one at the letters. Okay. And then, nope, he didn't. Okay. So now I'm going to start to pitch. Now I'm going to start to throw him some off speed stuff. If I have a hitter that's late on fastballs, good swing. Aaron Judge, late on a fastball. Okay. Late on a fastball. I might continue to throw him fastballs harder. I don't want to speed up his bat. I don't want to throw him a slider. What did Albert Pujols hit for his 700th home run? It was a breaking ball. Okay. Albert Pujols, and I love him because he's probably my age, and the dude's hitting. It's still a big leaguer. He's a special man.
Do you want to tell everybody your age, or just...
Not 42?
Okay.
You know, but Albert, I mean, the fact he's doing it, Albert's probably going to have a hard time catching up to 95. Okay. So he's hitting a lot of breaking balls for home runs this year, and he's hitting a lot of soft left-handers for home runs. Okay. So for that guy to throw him a breaking ball probably helped him out, right? He would have been late on that fastball, but that slider went right into his barrel. Okay. So if I have somebody that's late on my fastball, I'm not going to throw him a slider. Okay, I'm not going to essentially speed up their bat. You can go with a changeup or a breaking ball and maybe throw it for a ball. You know, maybe I throw him a slider, but I throw it 4 inches off the plate. Like, I don't want to throw a slider for a strike because that player essentially has slider speed bat. So those are the kind of things you see as a pitcher, how they react. Maybe you get a pitcher, you throw a ball in the inside corner and the hitter jumps back. Right? Like, was in no position to hit it. In fact, tried to jump out of the way, but you only missed by an inch or two. It wasn't like at the player. Now that tells me that somebody's trying to dive in and take away the outside part of the plate. So now all of a sudden, maybe I'm going to sneak fastballs in. I'll either be able to stewie him with 2 strikes or I'll be able to get a strikeout looking on the inside corner with 2 strikes, or they're going to jam themselves because they're not comfortable hitting that pitch. You know, those are the kind of things that, if maybe I throw a fastball on the outside corner and I notice that the hitter stepped out a little bit, maybe their front foot went to the pull side.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it just that pitch? That's usually the catcher's job to see that, but was that just that pitch, or do they typically do that? So if that's the case, maybe I'll show them something inside for a ball, something. Oh, here you go, buddy. Like, up and in, get excited, and then I'll just pound the outside part of the plate. You know.
So
the other
there's something that comes to mind. Second game of the year, Red Sox Yankees. Nick Pivetta against Josh Donaldson. This was Donaldson's 3rd plate appearance, from what I remember. And it's to the point of pitchers, even if they start you off with an off speed, they still will try to figure out how you react to the fastball. So Pivetta threw Donaldson a slider low and away, ball 1. Okay, next pitch, it was a little bit above the belt, and it was a strike Donaldson took. It was a fastball. Okay, so Pivetta said, I'm going to go back up there again, but he went up out of the zone. Donaldson chased, swatted it back to the screen. Strike 2. What did Pivetta do next pitch? He went up again, fastball.
You can go
top
either
of
way.
the strike zone, and Donaldson check swing, foul tipped into the mid of Vasquez, strike 3. So there were 3 fastballs, 1 slider, fastball, fastball. Pivetta was figuring out how that hitter, in this case Donaldson, was reacting to the fastball, even though he threw a slider low and away to start the at bat.
Yeah, well, I mean, what a great at bat, you know, or what a great retell of it.
I think it was good sequencing by Pivetta. I mean, it was classic, figuring out how that hitter reacts to the fastball, and
because Donaldson does see that ball up there pretty good.
He does, and he loves that high pitch. Yeah, he loves to swat that high pitch, try to get it out of the ballpark, and it goes to everything we're talking about today.
Yeah, my dad used to when I was a kid, he called the pitches when I was, 13,
Mhm.
14. And then at 16, I was, I called my own. But it was essentially, he just groomed me when I was catching on how to, and step ladder. He was a big step ladder guy. So, and we had pitchers that could hit spots, but if somebody swung at one at the belt, it was the belly button on the next pitch, right? And then it was the letters at the next pitch. And then if they finally stopped, then we would, bury something. But he would also step ladder away. So if we had a fastball away and they kind of flared, kind of swung at it, but didn't swing hard at it, we would go a little bit further outside, like 3 inches further. And then if they swung at that one, I'd be this far off the plate, like, Maddox was pitching or something, and see if they would chase that one. So step laddering has been around probably since baseball started, and it's still used today.
Since Cy Young was pitching.
That's right.
It's still around today. And is being used against hitters like Mike Trout, who, by the way, we're breaking down next week, Mechanical Breakdown Series. Mike Trout. Are you excited about Mike Trout next week?
I am, because he's so special. Like, his timing window is not huge, but his timing is better than probably anybody in baseball.
Mike Trout grew up in southern New Jersey. In 2008, he was a junior. He was second in South Jersey in hits. He was second behind one other person. I won't name that person.
Until next week?
No. This is one of those teasing cliffhangers for the rest of your life.
Oh, okay, great. I'll make sure I make him.
You may or may not be looking at him.
That's who I figured it was.
I didn't say names, though. And people listening don't know who you're looking at. You could be looking at like one of your kids right now. You could be looking at your wife. You could be looking at your dog. Who knows? I don't know.
I'm looking at pictures of other baseball players.
That's right.
Yeah.
Teasing cliffhanger for the rest of your life.
Amazing.
Next week, episode 116, Mike Trout. We're going to change up the topics too in their order and figure that out as we go along. But Mike Trout next week. Also, I want to promote cross functionality. This week, we were talking, Cassie and I, about, that's cross-dash functionality, by the way. Subscribe, Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon Music, Softball Strength Academy YouTube page. We talked about transitioning from being an athlete into post-athletic life, and we broke all that down. So please subscribe. New episode Wednesday at 9 a.m. You got your promo in, so I guess we're done.
Yippity-doo.
It's been fun.
Enjoy the week. We'll see what Mr. Judge does.
I hope that microphone makes it to week 2 or episode 116.
Me too.
Yeah. Got to set that baby up. All right. We will talk to you next week. Have a good week. Take care.